काम भले ही विलन के हो पर दिल हीरो का हो ना तो ऑडियंस समझ जाती है. Honestly, before Mardaani happened, I would not have seen myself play the kind of part which this sounded like on paper. Attempt to play Sunil Gavaskar, a cricketing legend, that took me 6 months of practice.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update. Hi Tahir, welcome to Indian Express.
Hi, thank you so much.
You were supposed to start shooting for Loop Lapeta with Taapsee. How are you keeping your mental balance in place when you see so much of uncertainty and we don't know when we get to shoot, when we get to be on a set?
When you're starting off in this line of work, when you're freelance, the whole concept of work from home is something that's very normal for creative people. So you sort of get into the routine of this is how much time I want to give to entertainment or exercise. This is how much time I want to give to productivity. This is how much time I want to give to reaching out to other people. So you create your own schedule that sort of cocoons you, and it's at the end of it, like a sport, it's a very mental game, and it's about battling that. That's been incredibly hard for a lot of people, and that's where, like you said, connectivity helps. There's a downside to that. I feel like I now live on Zoom. Like we're doing this interview on Zoom. The other day I had readings with a director on Zoom. I'm doing meetings on Zoom. Family conferences happen on it. So it's like you live now with your
virtual world.
Never before in my life had I imagined that I'd be doing actor readings and rehearsals with another actor, with the director on a virtual platform, because that's such a tactile, it's such a tangible thing that you want to be in the same room with. My first meeting with Taapsee happened on a Zoom interview where a show host, Rajiv Masan, introduced us, and that was technically like our first meeting. So it's bizarre, but I hold on to that thought. That's something that keeps me going, to say that when things open, every time there is a down, there must be an up. And I really look forward to, I can't tell you how excited I am to shoot Loop Lapeta and to get working with Taapsee.
I was reading an interview of yours, and I remember you said that when you saw the German film that's jiska adaptation hai Loop Lapeta, Run Lola Run, it was like you were blown away. You loved that movie. Now playing a part in an adaptation of that film, of course, as an actor, I'm sure you would have been, preparing yourself before starting to shoot that. And you mentioned about work from home for actors. For creative people, does it bring a little bit of hindrance thinking about or reading in the news about what's happening around us?
First of all, when I first saw Run Lola Run in college, I was blown away by how path-breaking the concept was. और कभी सपने में भी नहीं सोचा था that 10-15 years later one would be cast in the same film. And I'm so glad that you call it an adaptation and not a remake, because it really has been adapted to an Indian context. And the great thing about Loop Lapeta is going to be that if you've seen Run Lola Run, that's great because you'll have context. But even if you haven't and you come in absolutely fresh, there's going to be something that's really exciting. The second part of your question, I would be not be completely honest if I told you that every creative person, regardless of where in the hierarchy you are, is not anxious a little bit, because as much as your creative juices flow when you're by yourself and you're thinking or meditating about something, you do need, and we were talking about this before we started, you do need that sense of going out and meeting 10 other like-minded people on a set.
A lot of actors say that for them to perform well, it is important to have a great writing. You rose to fame with Mardaani. Was it a conscious choice to go for a negative character, since clearly it worked for you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does take great writing to make a part, and Gopi Putran, who then went on to direct Mardaani, did the writing. So I did have great material on paper, but also what the producers and what Pradeep Sarkar was very clear on is that the Walt in Mardaani had to be charming. He had to be cool. And honestly, before Mardaani happened, I would not have seen myself play the kind of part which this sounded like on paper. But when I heard what they wanted to do with it, which was to play it against type, and which is why it was anti-caste, where if you just saw my pictures or maybe saw my screen test, my look wouldn't be related to that kind of character, but it was what he was doing.
From your cameo in Kai Poche, and in fact a lot of people don't know that you were part of Kai Poche, the role involved cricket. To 83 now, again, cricket. Are you inclined towards, like, are you personally also drawn towards films that are, you know, about sport?
Yes, a lot of people don't know that I was in Kai Poche, and one of the things I was very clear about when I first moved to Bombay was that I will only do film work, and without any judgment towards the other forms of acting that happened. I was very clear that that's what I wanted to do, and it didn't matter what the size of the part was. And when I first got the call from the casting director Mukesh Chabra, he said it's a very small role, but in the end of the film you're going to walk on to the field and you open for India. And I was like, just that thought of wearing the Indian kit and opening. And for people who haven't seen it, I would recommend you just watch the whole film. It's amazing. But otherwise, it's right towards the end where that moment comes, and it's a very blink and miss part, but I hold it very close to my heart. But to answer your question, are sports films something that I'm attracted to? Absolutely not. In fact, I am very far away from the sporty, the fact that I'm a professional cricketer, and that took me 6 months to get to. Like, I played gully cricket and I played a lot of sport in college, but to attempt to play Sunil Gavaskar, a cricketing legend, that took me 6 months of practice. And I know, like they say, like in Bombay, you don't always make your choices get to you, and it's somehow been a coincidence of sorts that even Derek in Chichore he was like the sports stud in college. But with Sunil Gavaskar, there's a responsibility. He's a legend, and it was very encouraging and daunting at the same time to have him on the sets because he was there. And there was a moment where, ironically, he also was the opener for India. So life comes a full circle that way, where one was a fictional character and this is a real character. And there was a time when we were shooting in the UK when Gavaskar sir was on set, and the both of us walked onto the field together. I was in his costume looking like him. And we walked on together. So that was literally like goosebumps. When I read the script, I was so attached to the nostalgia and the scale at which it had been envisioned. Kabir Khan comes with the kind of authenticity where if it's a scene for the Lord's balcony, it will be shot at the Lord's balcony. It's not like you're putting up a set in Goregaon. And like you said, like projects like this on this scale, we've lived as a team for 3 months in the UK. In fact, exactly this time last year. We've shot at the Oval, we've shot at Lord's, we've done cricket practices in the nets at Lord's. And what other point in your lifetime are you going to have an opportunity like that? So this really was an experience film.
A few photographs of some of the stills from your movies. If you could look at them and maybe go back in time and think of a dialogue that you really liked from that film, or maybe
Oh God, this is a general knowledge question.
No, it's not. It's
about myself. That's Derek. He says, "Khane ke baad daru pita hai." That's the question over there. And yeah, it's been a very challenging few months to come to terms with the fact, because I can't mention that dialogue without thinking about Sushant. So yes, I remember that moment. How can I forget Hiptalla? That's what they would say when they clink a glass together and when they're drinking. I went to a village in Gujarat to shoot Manto, and I was like, what am I doing here? And Nawaz said something really cool. He said, sometimes the best films are made like this. And I think what he meant by like this is that they don't necessarily start off with big budget and a big studio production. And he was so right, because in 1 year we went from the villages of Gujarat and we went to the Cannes red carpet, and that is not something that was guaranteed when we were starting off this film. It was a passion project for a lot of people. Mardaani, and that'll always be an incredibly special film to me. And the line from that is, "That's a lot of anger, man." That's the first time he talks to Rani Mukerji, and she yells at him.
Yeah, I think I don't think I've seen a kidnapper speaking with such charm and respect to the police officer who's about to like bash him up.
I'm really glad that that came across. It was the idea. It was like, how do I annoy this person? If I yell back, she's heard enough of that. Maybe if I just try and charm her, I'll get away with it. And that was the idea.